3, 2, 1, lift off. Heart Path Podcast is here. Welcome. And this has been years in the making. I believe it was about 2019, 2020, maybe that bridge in between 2019 and 2020, where the first insight or the idea or the epiphany of you're going to do a podcast came into my mind. But I am a bit of a rebel. Okay, I'm a bit of a rebel, and I didn't do it because everybody else was. And can we say episode 1 is not all about me? Episode 1 is going to be focusing on doing the things, moving beyond fear and doubt, and even looking at the external world. If everybody's doing it, whatever, you're going to be putting your own spin or your own flavor on it. And we don't want to sleep on our dreams or what we're passionate about to be rebellious. Okay. Like, from personal experience, we don't want to sleep on our dreams because we're being a rebel. Go after your dreams and do the things. Okay. So welcome to Heart Path Podcast, episode 1. I am your host, Terra Kenzie Longacre. I'm a modern day mystic, oracle, author, transformational and spiritual mentor, and embodiment coach. And we are going to be having heart-to-heart conversations centered around spirituality, empowerment, divine embodiment, resiliency of the human spirit, and heart-based business and beyond. On this podcast, we're going to dive into topics around authenticity, vulnerability, and how to live with a courageous, curious, and compassionate heart. And we're going to have these conversations with professional mystics, oracles, healers, conscious creatives, and heart-based visionaries and leaders to offer insight and inspiration for the soul's journey. And I am overjoyed to have you here and to be part of this journey. We're on a heart-to-heart journey together, like into the podcast world and beyond. So let's even go back to when fear creeps in, where doubt creeps in. Because like I said, this was 2019 and 2020, the bridge in between 2019 and 2020. And I didn't do the podcast. Everybody else was doing it. Being the double Aquarius that I am, wasn't going to do the podcast. And it's not that it wasn't on my mind, as I'm sure lots of you, if you've got dreams and you're just not quite making the moves on them, they don't go away. They're still there. They're on your mind. They're on your heart. And at the same time, so much of the work that I do with clients and students is trusting the divine time as well, to really be open to this to be open to this knowing, like this deep inner knowing that we can have our plans, we can have, our timing, but ultimately at the same time, divine time, God's time, source, creator, universe's time is the real time. But faith without works is not going to lead to anything. Faith alone without works will not create. My motto here is faith, framework, follow through. Like, this is what we do. You have the faith, you have the openness, you create a framework, and then you follow through. But what happens if there's no follow through? What happens if there's that fear? What happens if there's that doubt? What happens if there's this endless cycle of procrastination or endless cycle of putting things off? That's what we're going to talk about today. Awareness is key, right? Because if you don't understand, or if you don't identify the root cause of why you're stopping yourself, why you're not making moves, why, this is such a powerful question. When you don't understand that, or you don't even have an awareness of what could potentially be holding you back, how do you work with that? So awareness is key. The first thing that you want to explore is, why does this feel overwhelming? Why am I feeling like I can't get the ball moving? Are you afraid of failure or success? This comes up a lot of the time because you could be afraid of failing. You could be afraid, but is failure really failure? We're saying failure because sometimes, oh my gosh, some of the hardest reality wake ups or humbling experiences for myself in life, in business, like we could call them failures. I'm using quotations, the quote unquote failures, so to speak. Those have been the biggest learning lessons for me for growth and expansion. Have they been uncomfortable? Absolutely. They have been uncomfortable, where I'm saying humbling. Woo! Woo! Been taken down a couple notches? Absolutely. Did I need it? Most likely. And I'm even going to say yes. See, even there was resistance around me even saying, yeah, I needed to be taken down a couple notches. No, I absolutely did. I did. And humbling experiences. But at the same time, what it not only taught me, but showed me, what was happening in these different situations, what needed refinement, and even who was I at that time, right? And who are you in this time? And knowing that our dreams, our desires, our goals, and our visions can change, and to allow them to change, to allow them to evolve, not be so stuck, to holding on to the way it needs, once again, quotations, needs to be, because we are always changing and evolving. So going back to the fear of failure, is a failure really a failure? Or is it an opportunity to learn and grow? Is it an opportunity to refine? Is it an opportunity to pivot? Yes, yes. So much is even the mindset. Like we have to be aware of our minds and what they polarize to, or where they go. Where does your mind tend to go? Does it tend to go into the doom and gloom and, oh my gosh, havoc and destruction? Does it tend to go into more optimistic spaces? And then how do you find a balance between those worlds? Because optimism, positivity, faith is encouraging and supportive. And at the same time, we want to be grounded in reality. So if we're identifying the root cause of the procrastination, why we're holding back, and can I tell you, first and foremost, for me, the podcast felt like too much work. So at first I didn't want to do it because everybody else was doing it. And then it was going into me thinking about, okay, I'm actually going to do this. I am going to do this. Probably 2022, I got a little bit more serious of like, I've been sitting on this for a couple years. It's time to move. Okay. It's time to move. But it felt like too much work. I made all of these excuses. I was so busy with clients and coaching and all of it, and I just didn't have the time. But and at that time, I also wouldn't hire out help. Like I wasn't able to delegate very well in my business. Thank you, 2024, for showing me, get help, girl. Hire some support. Shout out to Jess, Modern Arcana. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. However, what are the stories that we're creating that we're putting in between us, our goals, our visions, our dreams? So Hard Path Podcast was actually going to be a thing September 2023. Yes, September 2023. I reached out to someone in July so this was the whole thing. It felt like too much work. I didn't want to do the editing. I didn't know about the recording. I didn't like all of these barriers and blocks I was putting outside in front of me that didn't need to be there. So for you, even if you're thinking about a podcast, whatever you're working on, your goals, visions, your dreams, what blocks or barriers are you putting between you and them that don't need to be there? Because now that I'm here, I'm like, oh, it's actually not as much time as my mind perceived it to be. The work is not as much as I thought it would be. So yeah, July 2023, I reached out to someone, was going to hire them because it was still too much work for me. July 2023, still too much work, lots going on in personal life, business, you name it. But then I was going to hire someone. Unfortunately, it wasn't a fit for us. Different, different morals, values. It is what it is. Thank you. Not a fit. Honoring that. And then I put it off again. It's like, okay, well, it's not happening. And here we are. Obstacles have been removed. I stopped putting the limitations of what it needs to be. Also, thank you, Jenna. Got some support, got some advice. Thank you, Jenna. And now I'm here to share it with you. It doesn't have to be as complicated or challenging as you could be making it. Okay, so just be mindful of what blocks or barriers you are putting in between you and your goals and your dreams and your visions that don't need to be there. So if we're talking about even fear of failure, what about fear of success? Because like a lot of the time, fear of success, those of you out there that don't think, you're like, oh no, it's not a fear of success. What if it is? What if it actually is? What if you are very, very much in integrity with who you are and what you do, and you know the weight and the responsibility, especially, for the healers, the mystics, the coaches and mentors out there, teachers, spiritual teachers, folks are trusting you to support them. They are being vulnerable and laying it all out and bearing their souls to you. You know the responsibility that carries, and at the same time, like, there could be that fear of success, especially if you've been hiding and playing small, especially if there's been fear of rejection, right? Or abandonment, knowing that these are all like childhood wounds coming to the surface. And if we want to expand out to the soul, there could be soul wounding or imprints as well around being seen and received for who you truly are. So to know that, however, the fear of success is as powerful as the fear of failure could be if we give them power. Let's repeat that, actually. If you give them power, if we give them power. So the fear of success, you know the responsibility, you know that it could change your life. There's going to be more eyes on you. There's going to be recognition. It could change relationships that you have within your life, family, friends, lovers, partners, on and on and on and on. However, could we talk about the benefits of success? Could we talk about the benefits of more awareness around who you are and what you're doing, right? Because the more awareness there is around that, the more impact you're able to make. So often we as humans get bogged down by that and put ourselves in the center. It's like, oh my gosh, my fears are too much. My doubt is too much. My worry is too much. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? And it's not even about you. If you are doing the work of the divine, if you are doing the work of the divine, who are you to get in the way of that? And we don't need to judge. We don't need to be hard on ourselves for being in that space, in that place. However, we're just going to pose that question again. If you are doing the work of the divine, who are you to get in the way of what has been chosen for you? And who are you to get in the way of the work of the divine? And we can fill in the blanks: God, source, creator, whatever you resonate with. So to look at that too. And this might be a hard truth for some folks to look at, of, oh, oops, where you see where you've been getting in the way, where you see where you've been making it about you, where you've been letting your fears and your doubts become bigger than the work, to become bigger than the divine mission, right? And when you move beyond that, you understand that what you're doing is bigger than the fears and the doubts and the worry and the potential judgment. Can we also say There are going to be lovers and haters. Welcome to our current reality as we know it. People are going to love you. They're going to hate you. There's going to be mixed, all in the mix. And you have no control over that. You don't. And you don't necessarily, do you actually want everybody to love you? And is it authentic so just it's coming to a place of acceptance that there are going to be lovers and haters, and some people are going to be strangers on the internet. They are strangers on the internet. Why does it even matter? Why are you going to let strangers on the internet stop you from doing the divine's work? Okay, are you hearing this? Are you hearing this? So there's so many layers to this, and as we will go on through our journey on this Heart Path podcast, we're going to talk about the layers of healing and transformation and embodiment, because there's so many layers. And once again, going back to identifying the root cause of why you could be sleeping on your dreams, why you're getting in your own way, why you're letting other people's projections get in between you and your goals and your visions, to get in between you and what has been assigned to you by the divine. This is a divine assignment. That you're not doing what you're doing or dreaming about what you're dreaming just because, especially like the healers, the mystics, the oracles, the coaches, and the mentors. Hello. It's not coming through to you just because, especially when you're in a space of a pure heart and you are genuinely here to help others. Okay. I feel like I'm getting fired up about this, but it's so important. And even to go back to the podcast of, 2019, 2020, didn't want to do it because everybody was doing it. I feel like now that I have witnessed my life unfolding and business and just where I am now and who I am now, and even who I'm becoming, and all of this, it's the perfect time. Now is the time, because truthfully, 2022 me, there was some ego. And I've talked to my students about this, very transparently. Your girl got an inflated ego. I can't even mince words with that. There was some ego stuff going on, ego trip. I still was there to help people and support people, but at the same time, my heart was in the right place, but the ego needed a check. Okay, the ego definitely needed a check. It was just kind of being a little bit too extra. I was putting myself in the center more versus the divine, and I fully see that now. And I've been on a journey of humility through it, got humbled many times. 2023 literally blew the lid off of everything that I thought I knew about my life, my reality, who I was, even God, source, creator, universe. It just, everything came crumbling down and has been reworked. And so, we've got the divine plan. We've got the divine plan. And at the same time, becoming aware when you're getting in the way, when you're letting other people get in your way too, from doing the work of the divine. So we'll say that. So sometimes you could be holding yourself back though, and because things might not feel in alignment, right? You could be working towards a goal, a vision, a dream, and maybe it's not, I don't know, it's not where you're super passionate about. Maybe it's even someone else's. So these are questions you could ask yourself if you're holding yourself back, if you're I don't I just don't really, you could be saying, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have to. So anytime, and I will raise my hand, I've been there. Anytime you feel like you don't want to do something, but you have to, or you should, because X, Y, and Z. Like, ask yourself, is this actually aligned with what I'm doing, where I'm going, who I am now? Are these my dreams, desires? Are these God, source, creator, universes, dreams, desires? Or do these belong to someone else? Are these someone else's dreams and desires? Are these someone else's expectations? So to check in with yourself too, because you might be, it's almost like the standstill or stopping yourself because your heart's not in it. And honestly, I would have to say 2024 has been the year, the master teacher year and initiator. What an initiation 2024 has been, let me tell y'all. But 2024 has been the huge year to show me, and you may be feeling this as well. You might have experienced this as well, that I will no longer, and I can no longer do things if my heart is not invested in it. Even if that means ending relationships, ending collaborations, letting go of projects that I've had in my business forever that have been my financial stability and security. If my heart is not in it, I can't do it. And that has been uncomfortable in some cases too, because it's involved or resulted in hurting others unintentionally, of course, unintentionally. Like for example, say you have a collaboration and it could have been wonderful and you could have really enjoyed it. Like I experienced this in the very beginning of 2024. I loved it. But at the same time, my heart wasn't in it. The collaboration was no longer where I wanted to be, or to be doing what I wanted. I could just see a greater vision of what I wanted for myself, for my business, and the direction. And it's nothing against the other person at all. Nothing against them. But for me, at the same time, my heart wasn't in it, and it didn't feel fair, truthfully, to stay in that collaboration because I didn't like who I was becoming. Okay, like full transparency. I did not like who I was becoming because, like, with it, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was kind of getting resentful for it. I didn't want to do it anymore. I was trying to convince myself it would be okay to spare someone else's feelings. But inside, I was like, I don't want to do it. And then I started kind of giving ultimatums of, I'll only do it if, and this X, Y, and Z. Because like in the moment, it felt like I held all the cards. Like the whole reason this collaboration was going forward in the way it was is because I had all of the tools, so to speak, to make this program or collaboration run. And I didn't like who I was becoming because I was like given all of these ultimatums and just because I didn't want to do it. And I was giving the bare minimum, and I was only willing to give the bare minimum. And the person that I was collaborating with was accepting it. And part of me, I couldn't accept that I was being like that. I'm like, dude, you need to I just was not pleased with how I was behaving because I didn't want to do it. But then they were accepting it. They were accepting the bare minimum. And then I couldn't, no, I couldn't accept that for them either. So it had to end. I'm like, no, this is just not going to work because I don't want to be making demands. I do not want to be making demands and just feeling like this sense of I don't want to do this, but I have to do this because I feel indebted or obligated or whatever to this dynamic, this project, this program. So, but I'm only going to do this. So it was just, I didn't like that I was doing that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that because I know myself and I know my heart, and that just did not feel well. And then at the same time, like them completely accepting that, I didn't want that for them because they deserve better. Okay, they deserve better. So I don't even know where I was going with that, but the heart. If your heart's not in it, because look at what can happen. Resentment can build. You start not acting like yourself. It might pull you away from your truth and yourself. You might treat people differently than you normally would because of it. So just like, let your heart be in the things. And at the same time as well, if I'm working with people, I want them to be as fired up about what we're doing as I am. I don't want to work, because that's like energetically, I don't want to be tethered to someone that's not excited and passionate about what we're doing. I want to work with people that want to work with me and be so excited. So heart's got to be in it. Ask yourself, is my heart invested in this? Am I passionate about this? And sometimes we were saying about alignment, sometimes it's not, it is about alignment, but perfect example with that collaboration and that program, it was in alignment. Like what we were doing was in alignment. Everything that was being brought forward in that program was in alignment because I do it. I live it, breathe it, do it. It's my services and my offerings. It's in alignment 100%. And not to say that this person wasn't in alignment. We felt in alignment. It's just things were changing. My vision was changing and it's expanding and wanting to go in a different direction. And my heart wasn't in it anymore. So yes, things were aligned, but my heart wasn't in it in that way anymore. So that could be for you too. If you're thinking about, is this aligned? What does this look like? Maybe it is in total alignment with you, but in a different way, So just to really look at that, those could be some of the root causes, so to speak, that are creating distance and separation from you achieving your goals and dreams, or even making moves towards them. And can we also say, we talked about there's going to be haters on the internet, there's going to be lovers on the internet, knowing you can't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. And even if you're going about your life like wearing the people pleaser hat, trying to ensure everybody's okay, not saying things because you don't want to rock the boat and you want to keep people happy. But what is that doing to you? Because so often, oh my God. Oh, I have many reformed people pleaser clients and students. And and that's why I'm saying reformed. They are reformed people pleasers. Yes! Celebrating you. Reformed people pleasers. So often they would just want to make everybody around them happy. But for that, okay, trying to make everybody around you happy. Yes. Does it work? No. So you're miserable trying to make everybody else around you happy, but everybody around you isn't happy still. So to be mindful of that, you can't make everybody happy. You are also not responsible for anybody else's happiness but your own. People are responsible for their own happiness. People are responsible for their own joy. People are responsible for their own problems. That has nothing to do with you. Let's say this together, okay? I am not responsible for other people's problems. I am not responsible for other people's happiness. I am responsible for myself, my life, my happiness. I do not outsource my happiness from others. Yes, 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 yes. We might be doing a lot of that stuff on this podcast too, like these empowerment statements, clearing statement. Who knows? I'm so excited to be here with you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what could well, we don't even need to go into the root causes. I feel like we've talked about a lot. We've explored a lot. Sometimes things that could feel overwhelming, like let's say you've got this big vision. It's like, but you're in this moment, in this time, looking at that bigger picture. You're looking at the bigger vision, and it could feel overwhelming because you might not know where to start. You're looking all the way at the end goal, but you're failing, if we want to use that, or you're not necessarily looking at you right now, which could be the beginning. right? It is wonderful to look at the end goal. It is wonderful to look at that bigger vision, but it all starts with you right now, right? In the here and now, that big vision is nothing without you right now. So could you find ways to break that bigger vision, that bigger goal down? You don't have to be at the finish line when you're just starting. Could we also, this feels like we're veering off a little bit, but for those of you with your heart-based businesses, you might find yourself, looking around in the outer world, looking at your mentors or your inspirations, and you want to be where they are now. Okay. And that's something that you're aspiring to, because they could be successful. They could be doing exactly what you want to be doing. And they're a couple steps ahead of you. I find the folks that I'm working with, it's like that. It's like they see the model that I have with my business and what I'm doing, and they're working towards that. And like, that's a goal and that's a vision for them in their own way, though. Of course, it's not going to be, a photocopy facsimile of my business, but it's going to be there. They're aspiring to that. But at the same time, maybe if you're in the beginning stages, you're not you're not going to be at that finish line. You're not going to be booked and busy in all of the way. And sometimes, I don't know, like, do you really want that? I don't know. I don't want to be booked and busy anymore. I did. That was an old paradigm in my life, in my world. Booked and busy and hustling and burnt out. Burnt out. Had to take a break. But anyway, okay, I digress. So if you are in the beginning and you're starting your business, you might not be having those 5-figure months in the very beginning. You could. And if you do, yes, celebrating you, like blessings to you, abundant blessings to you and beyond. However, in a grounded reality, which I see time and time again, that might not be the case. And it doesn't mean anything against them or their business or what they're doing. When you're starting, like, people need to feel comfortable with you, especially if it's like service-based businesses. So it's like you're building a relationship with your potential clients. You're building a sense of community with potential clients, customers. And so that takes time. Relationships take time to build trust. So you could see the finish line of where you want to be, but honor that you are. And it's like honoring the cycles, honoring the seasons of life and your business. So if you are beginning, you might not be at that end goal yet. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It doesn't mean you give up. It means that there might be more time required. And that was a little bit of a tangent, but not really, because I feel like we're talking to some of you out there. So like, comparison can be like, that expression, comparison is the thief of joy. Like, comparison versus inspiration is very different. Like, when you're inspired by someone or something, it lights that fire within it. Like, it brings up this passion within you of like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I want to do that. That's inspiration. Or like, I wonder what that could be like. Completely different versus comparison, where you see something and then you're putting yourself down for all the times and ways you couldn't do that, or, or jealousy, like whatever comes up. So just knowing, honor where you're at, but be devoted to it. Oh my God. There are so many times where I questioned my sanity of having a business, because it can be a roller coaster. Like, the entrepreneur game is not for the faint of heart. And let's not even call it a game. The life of an entrepreneur, the entrepreneur life, is not for the faint of heart. You're literally stepping out of the constructs of society and the boxes that have been created, where you are taking a risk on yourself of not having financial stability and security. If you've got a job, at least you know you have a constant paycheck coming. When you are an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. Your business is dependent on you. If you don't like, you got to show up for yourself, for your business. And in time, if it can create the sustainability so that when you don't show up for it, it still shows up and generates money. But once again, like, is that happening right in the beginning? So it's not for the faint of heart. Like, we might be a little delulu out here in the entrepreneurial world, going after our dreams, letting go of potential, financial security and stability to be our own sovereign being in business, not for the faint of heart. How many, like, think of it, really, if we wanted to look at it, there are so many people that have probably even thought about having their own business, but they don't because they might have a 9 to 5. I work with a lot of folks that have the 9 to 5 and they've got their passion business, but you're not like, if you are wanting to make a transition, you're not quitting your 9 to 5 like right away to go all in on your heart-based biz. No. Would I recommend that to my clients and students? No, absolutely not. We don't want to put you and your nervous system in like survival mode, which it could already be with the 9 to 5, but we don't want to tax the nervous system. You want a smooth transition. Even for myself, oh my gosh, I feel like I've had a million lifetimes in this life. But I have worked in the service industry and the hospitality industry. I don't anymore. I'm saying I have. So I worked, there we go, in the service industry, the hospitality industry, the entertainments, like that sort of events and things of that nature for years and years and years. Like, that was my career. And even serving and bartending, like, that was what I've, like, my tried, tested, true was going to be with me on and on, even when I had my business, even when I first created my business, and when my business started to do really well. I still had that serving, whatever, hospitality in my back pocket. And this is the funny thing, I couldn't let it go. So I get you. That need to have, okay, at least I know this is coming in. Like, that need for financial stability and security is real, because real talk, we live in a world where we have bills. Okay, you got bills to pay. You might have dependents and responsibilities. So it's very real. So like I said, I had my business doing well, making good money. Did I need to still have that other hospitality job? No, I didn't. Did I tell myself that I was keeping it for networking and meeting people? I did. But you know what? I did actually meet people. So there was networking, but like that was a cover. That wasn't the truth. Like, that was a cover that I was telling myself to be okay, that I was still doing it, even though my business was doing well. So we got to call ourselves out at times too. So to know, though, it's okay. It's okay to have your 9 to 5 and your heart-based biz, but we also have to give attention to both of them. So like, yeah, don't quit your job overnight. Like, if your company is doing well, if your business is growing, that's something that you could consider, but only you are going to know what's best for you. Only you are going to know what's best for you, and to trust that. But at the same time, are your choices coming from fear? Are your choices coming from worry? These are questions to be curious about if you're not trusting yourself. So going back to breaking things down, I love the free flow. I love the free flow conversations and where this is going. But at the same time, breaking things down, if you've got a big goal, if you've got a big vision, if you've got this huge dream, we could reverse engineer it. I have suggested this to clients. I'm like, could you reverse engineer that? You go to your end goal, and what are the steps going backwards? Because sometimes that's easier to see than going forwards, because you could be here right now looking at this end goal thinking, oh my gosh, this is a lot. This is overwhelming. Where do I start? So you could go to the end goal and reverse engineer it to yourself. Or you could look at, okay, so what could I do for myself today? So what could you do for yourself today that is going to stay committed to the vision? Does it mean that you're actually going to make time to brainstorm? If there are collaborations or people to get connected with, does that mean reaching out to them? Blocking off time in your life and your schedule to help create the dream, to help make the vision a reality. Because as I mentioned, faith and no works is not going to amount, it's going to amount to diddly. We need the faith, we need the framework, and we need the follow through. But we can't have the follow through if there's the blocks to it, which we talked about, of identifying the root causes. Because once you have that, once you have awareness around that, once you know it's there, then you can move through it. And then you'll be more likely for the follow through. So this is why we're giving you these tips and suggestions for that. And yeah, you need to commit time to it. And sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes, life could be really busy, or if you are already like you're doing a lot of projects, we have to make time. We truly have to make time, because if we're living in this universe that matches our energy, at times that can be a tough pill to swallow. I'm just thinking about 2023. I'm like, oh gosh, that was like a dumpster fire year. Anybody else? Was 2023 a dumpster fire year for you? Like, woo. Anyway, so we do have to commit time and energy. That's a key word, time and energy, because time is energy. Time is energy. Our energy is taken in time, and time is our energy. So we do have to commit. Some of you might not like that word. And if you don't like the word commitment, like, explore that. That's something for you on your own to do a little inner work around. Why don't you like that word commitment? What about commitment is scary? Yes, look at that, because having a business, having visions, goals, dreams are a commitment. lifelong commitment in some cases, depending on what they are. So we have to create time and invest energy into that to continue to, it's like watering a plant. And sometimes I'm looking at my plants right now. Sometimes I forget. Sorry, plants. But but we do, it's like watering the plant, right? So you're tending to the garden. You're going to continue to feed the plant though, and nourish the plant just as you would your dreams. So these are some tips and some suggestions to help support you in doing the things. I don't even know, like, so many clients and students say, I heard you in my head saying, do the thing. Like, maybe if I had a tagline, it would be, do the thing, because I'm such an advocate for that. Like, you can talk about it all you want, you can think about it all you want, but nothing's going to happen until you choose it to happen. Faith, framework, follow through. Yes, are we getting it? So do the things. And what could have been perceived, like if there were fears that got in the way for you, that it felt too big, or it feels too scary, or you don't know where it's going to go and what it's going to look like, which, once again, we're not always going to know every step. If we knew every step, it would be kind of boring. Like, it's nice to have some steps, but when there's everything like so structured, and you'll see, and some of you already know, oh my gosh, I don't need to preach to the choir. When you are living in the flow of spirit, like when you're living in that divine flow, like, things change. And when things are so rigid and structured, you don't even leave any room to allow the divine to flow in your life. So to remember that too, we can have our structures, we can have our framework, but we also have to, at the same time, be open to allow the divine to flow through, to allow the divine to be present in our lives, in our worlds, in our businesses, to allow the divine to bring us what would surpass what we even think is possible, to allow the divine to bring us what we want, or better. And sometimes what we want, oh gosh, also hard pill to swallow. Sometimes what we want isn't necessarily what we need and might not be part of that divine plan either. And so it's coming to a place of acceptance, and in, a place of acceptance and allowance. So accepting and allowing. But we've chatted about this as well. Things aren't going to happen until you choose, right? Until you choose or decide that they can, right? Or starting to initiate the steps required to get closer to the visions and the dreams. So if there's the blocks, if there's the barriers, can we find what they are? Can you find what they are? Can you call them out? Can you see them for potentially not being the truth of who you are, who you're becoming, and where you're going? It's so important because once again, you can talk about the things or you can do the things. You can think about the things or you can do the things, or you cannot and then forever be wondering, what if? I wonder what that could have been like if. Do you want that? Do you want that? For me personally, like my life, I want to live a life free from regrets. Has it been a colorful life? Yes. Are there some things where I'm like, ooh, absolutely. And sometimes I'm like, I wouldn't take it back. Maybe, but then like, really, would I? Because there's been so much learning from it. There's been so much growth. And once again, it's like, would I do it again? In some cases, no, I would absolutely not do it again. No. So powerful learning opportunities. Oh, so beloveds, we are going to wrap up our talk and our conversation today. And thank you so much for being here for episode 1. Like, not going to lie, your girl was sleeping on her dream, but not really. Like, when I'm saying that, I wasn't, but I was getting in the way. So maybe it wasn't sleeping on my dream. It was getting in the way, making it more complicated than it needed to be. And so often the human mind can really, really make things more complicated than they need to be. So remember that and know if that's you. It's like, am I making this more complicated than I need to make it? Like, you could ask yourself, am I making this more complicated than I need to make this? So we're going to close our time. We're going to wrap up. And I am looking forward to this heart to heart journey together, this heart path journey together, where we get to talk about these things, but giving once again, you could talk about the things, but then how? I also like to incorporate, how can we shift the energy of this? How could you do this? So if you're getting in your way, how do you get out of your way? So there's talk, and then there's like, how could you work with this? Always, 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 always. Because even when I'm doing sessions with clients, if it's like Akashic Records readings, okay, wonderful, great to know the information, but this is impacting you now. And like, how can we work with this to shift the energy so that now you can move forward? Now you're not held back. Thank you for listening to today's episode. And before you go, I wanted to offer you an opportunity for reflection and contemplation. See, more reflection, more contemplation. Was there anything in this episode that inspired you or that you can use in your life moving forward? If so, what was it? Was there something about this episode that made you feel uncomfortable? Ooh, did you get charged? Perhaps even triggered? Things to take note of. Was there anything that was brought up in this episode that made you feel seen, understood? Like, please, I want to know all of the things. So take a moment to go into the sacred space of your heart, or to journal and reflect what came up for you. And feel free to slide into my DMs. You can let me know on social media and share how it impacted you. I would love to hear. Oh, until next time, lots of love. Mwah.